I have been making canes for over 10 years and have just recently begun to realize that these 3 skills are game changers. Always, always focus on one step at a time. And that is the trick to making complex or conglomerate canes. The brilliant thing about making canes is the way they can repeat a simple pattern. And our brains just go crazy when we see something like this, but again, one step at a time. So the first thing to focus on is that triangle fill is the answer to everything. You think that it's the cane patterns that are difficult, but in my opinion, it's not. It's the background that will make or break a cane. So once you get these triangles down, you can fill in anything and it will maintain a beautiful shape. So one of the keys is to pinch that paper thin because that'll be smooth out edges. If that has any thickness to it, it will bully the pattern, as I always say. It's important to start to get your head around the different shapes of triangles. Every angle can be different. You could have one very long side, one very short side. It's very important to just practice this. Practice it with scrap clay. This will help you with kaleidoscopes. By the way, this is very soft clay. Yours probably won't reduce that quickly. But now that I have this all set to go in my background color, I can use it. I can just keep taking from that to fill in everything. Now I know you've seen me do this in previous tutorials, and that's why I want to teach it now once and for all. So I'll show you these canes later. Right now the whole point is just to focus on the triangle canes. Again, practice. Get your head around what angles you need, what shapes you need, and sizes. Use less than you think. All you need usually is just enough to fill in the tiny little crease that's there. Here it is again, filling in the spaces between those little flower buds or berries so it keeps the rounded shape. So not only is it a triangle, but it's a curved triangle. I've used my thumb and forefinger to make it curved so that it fills in that angle as a curve. Anything can be made into a kaleidoscope. Square kaleidoscopes are based on corners. So once you have a pattern, any old pattern, if you have these triangles, you can just make the edges, the corners, square them off, and then you have a triangle for your kaleidoscope. I didn't make beautiful complex kaleidoscopes before because I didn't realize how easy it is just to take some triangle and fill that in. I'll show the rest of this at the end. This was just to show how helpful the triangles are. A related skill to this is making angle cuts. Sometimes I call them bevel cuts. You don't always need a triangle if cutting the clay at an angle will make a triangle. This is one reason why it's important to make these small, because a single thickness, 1 or 2 thicknesses of clay, will suffice as the background. The reason I put that little angle cut, it makes a triangle separating the green from the bud a little. It's not necessary, but if you did want to separate them out, a simple sheet of clay at an angle will be all you need. Or if you need more background, you can use 2 sheets. Again, 2 sheets cut at an angle might be all you need to form a triangle, or at least the angle that you need. This is a cool trick for leaves that I realized, especially if you're adding leaves to a little stem. See that angle cut? See how pointed that is? Angles really matter, because if I want that coming up from a stem, I already have all the background taken care of because of that angle cut. So triangles, angle cuts, if you can master those two, you're well on your way to simple background fill. Skill number 2 is to learn to reduce funny shaped canes. This is an important skill, and it may be daunting at first. Reducing canes isn't just about rolling them out, it's about forming them, continuously forming the shape and stretching it out. This does tend to work better with softer clays. But really focus on understanding the pattern inside of there and just making it smaller and smaller. If this is the most difficult thing for you, take time to learn it well. Practice, because once you feel more adept at reducing canes, it'll be amazing what you can make. Here's an example of making 2 sizes of the same cane. So if you ever find you want a big one and a little one, you can cut off 1/3, 1/4, even 1/5 of the cane, then stretch it out to be the same length as the original cane, or as the larger section, you know. So every time you see this, whether it's butterfly wings or a bouquet in my work, this is how I've done it. Cut off a small little end, stretch it out, and now you have 2 canes, a big one and a little one. So for these conglomerate canes, this is fun because there are so many different ways that I could combine them. And it's just such a beautiful design ability with the polymer clay, is to have these different sizes. A useful shape to reduce is a teardrop shape. You can practice with that. Incidentally, if you want, stems can be made thin simply by squishing them. So I've made this stem thick or thin based entirely on how much I squish it. I do this all the time. You've probably seen it in lots of my videos. But anytime I want either leaves or flowers or berries to go from big to small, it's a good skill to learn to taper a cane. Reduce the cane in such a way that it goes from big to small. Just take your time with it. Focus on each section until one side is big and one side is small. And from there you cut it into equal sections, and the result is always a fun design in my opinion. Number 3, painting with the spatula squish. This is another skill you've seen in multiple of my tutorials, but what I never really understood is how important it is to take your time and find the right tool, find the right consistency of clay, because this is a very effective technique if you have some ease with it. I've got a silicone spatula. Look around your craft room, your kitchen, Goodwill, find something that works. Now, because it's so small, work small, I didn't have enough time or clay to make a blend, so I just used 3 colors. And what I want to do is pull the colors lines through all the layers. And it's good, it's fine, make this as messy as you want. It's okay if they break, if they overlap. It depends how specific you want those lines to be, but if you want them to look painterly, this part doesn't matter. Notice, on this one, I did it both on the dark and the light. Other times, I will only pull one color down through the other color. Really squish those together. Later, you can form it into a diamond shape, a fan shape, but at this point, you're just trying to get those lines squished together. I want a bit of a flower that's half open. I'd like the dark down at the bottom, that's why I pinched the dark together. And I just love how beautiful, you know, you could put them together again if you'd like. I just love the strokes, the very natural painterly strokes that are pulled through that. There are other ways to make lines if you want them more uniform, but I really love this technique. Again, though, you need to practice a little bit to see if those lines are really being drawn through the way you'd like. Okay, I just thought of this last minute. I was like, what happens if I flip it? So part of it is dark and part of it's light, but I don't want it completely uniform, so I'll just use a tiny bit, stretch that out. Let's see how this works. Cool. Oh my goodness, that would make a beautiful flower if I made a full flower, but I'm just gonna leave it as is. So play around with that idea. Here is one where I only pull the lines one direction. The other difference with this is I'm using the actual background color because I'm going to pull the background into the pattern, and that will take care of a lot of the fill. So it's a stack of colors, any stack of colors. You can get creative with this. Now this one's going to be a leaf. So not only am I pulling the colors through, but I'm pulling them through at an angle. So we kind of have two skills working together at the same time. See the leaf that it's making? I love these leaves. If it doesn't pull through like you would like, do it again. Again, a skill for mastery. So it might not work the first time. Try again. It may be too much, it may be too little. Get used, in this case, you're going to have to press them also over to reinforce the angle. And I think we're going to go ahead with the fill again from the other part of the video. That's when there's still those little spaces that I wanted filled with the triangle cane. So there you go, an easy leaf. This would make a great oak leaf. So simple and fast in concept, as long as you're willing to put in the practice. So here are some final thoughts, is that you do need to put in the practice. They won't turn out perfectly the first time. That's why this one was made with all scrap clay. I take all my scraps, and you will have scraps, mix them into a color, and then practice with them. Another thing about that is you will need so much more background color than you do for the patterns. The little patterns are tiny amounts. The background needs to be a lot. And since I promised, here is the final kaleidoscope. I didn't mean to make it into a kaleidoscope. They would have been beautiful as a bouquet, but just for fun, because that's what I do, is turn everything into a kaleidoscope. So there you go.